William S. Burroughs. From him I have owned everything, read everything. Today I own not a single one of his books anymore. Chunky was important. The losing of the desire for everything. Food, friends, sex. Only the question where the money comes from to pay the next drugs. Bleakness in the frenzy. So senseless. Also the other works I have read with interest. They attracted me. Have no use for homosexuality, but that was no problem. The structure of the works intoxicated me. Dos Passos, Selby, What a Vinyl Movie, Vonnegut and many others. But these works were different, more radical, more relentless. Yet still I began to doubt. When he looks for drugs in the jungle, and honestly, how was it? The own wife to shoot while plastered, without to reflect about it. It bores me noticeably someone or other fucks somebody or other and then kills him somehow or other. That grab anybody is yet able to write. And then Tangier. Whoa, how libertine. Just the ticket for the American poet. There it was in order, for little money, dollars per thought, a boy, with pleasure really young, to take along to the room, to get fucked in the ass or fuck him in the ass. What you were better than one who fucks a child on the Philippines or in Thailand, better raped. Sorry. You were artists, poets even. The whole thing made me increasingly sick. Sure, it was great, the fashion all of you have written. Poems full of momentum, novels of ruthless candor. But were all of you, and you Boris especially, not a bunch of narcissistic assholes? Only to be out to satisfy the own lechery. Who is interested in the other? Only to be out to get the own frenzy. What interests me the other? Would I have shot my wife, especially thus? Maybe a little more humility would have been more appropriate. Why Sylvia Plath penetrates into my mind? Stupid question. Daddy. I can see all of you only as a bunch of stupid assholes. Probably because you all wear it. Mickey Spillane. It surprised me, but I liked his novels. Read them all. Still like them. Vigilantism. Maybe it just was Velda, or one of the other exciting ladies with those he got into trouble with. Did I identify myself with him, although he repelled me as well? Or was I worse than he, this one, who even shot women? Then he in a burning building, from which he will be saved, but the killer has no chance thereto, decides to kill him by his own hand, to shoot him. I could comprehend this indeed, but would have decided me differently. I would have let him burn. A bullet would be to me a far too quick end for him. To burn alive, I could not imagine a more awful death. Hard-boiled, my camera, he was it. Gladly I would have, like he, clear conceptions and opinions. I could always understand everything and everyone. I was very confused as a youngster. Or Elizabeth. I was so confused as a little child. Raymond Chandler. Gladly I would say something about each book, about each character, each woman, women and writers, and Hollywood, and LA, and the ocean, loyalty. Each of his works I have read several times, immersed in his world, this depraved world that has become nothing better at the end of the book. To escape the affair without a scratch, not to save the world, to get as little injuries as possible, to solve the case, to accomplish the job. Why die so many who do not deserve it? Spillane? The movie version, Old Man. Is the story become better now? When I saw the film for the first time, I thought so. But today? What has he won when he shoots him, murdered? When she only will find a dead body? Is it better now with a dead more? Why do we all have so many scars, those inwardly, which you cannot see? Why so many dreams get destroyed? Hollywood, LA, the endless ocean. Why do we suffer thus when others go? Do we suffer also when we self go? The little sister, farewell my lovely, the long goodbye, the big sleep. Everything said. The two, Theodore. I've never really understood why I liked both so much, and still like. I had always little use for German literature, especially for the classical period. Storm. Hävelmann and Regentrude. I think the only fairy tales I read independently. The Northern touched me, so living in the South. The coast, the dike, the people, the rough life, the organ, the sea. Towards her I felt always attracted too. Here the people fought with her, tried to defy her. Lost youth, decisions and consequences. Why does not succeed it at least to find a little happiness? Bleakness, failure, so relentless. I've not really read much of him, but this was enough. Fontane. He astonished me, his language. Never would have thought to be interested in to read one who hikes through the Mark Brandenburg. And however I read it and enjoyed it, was captivated by the language. And then his wives, convulsing, without a chance, in a shameful time. Is it better today? Less constraints, or even more, only others? And the most awful, the fiction one thing, the background, the true occurrence, so much the more awful. Grete Minde. And Christine, when she drowns herself in the sea, must it end always so? Say no and lie to me. Dante Alighieri. I was amazed when I realized that the Inferno only part of a larger work is. The Divine Comedy that includes the Hell, the Purgatory and the Paradise. Always only was talk of the Inferno, his power, the intensity of the words, the speech. Dali. Then I read the work. Precisely, I devoured the Inferno, agonized me through the Purgatory and gave up in Paradise. Now I had my answer. The Inferno, what an opus! All the lords, nobles, cardinals and popes who were there. But then there still was a very special place. In an area somewhat isolated, they were. All the great minds of ancient Greece. They had not believed in God, therefore their sight was in hell. It touched me, how wistfully Dante described this circumstance. And another area touched me at that time, but especially today, the area of the suicides. If someone would be able to prove to me that this place exists, I would commit suicide immediately, calmed down, awaiting the torments. What a place this would be. Vincent van Gogh, Tucholsky, Paul Celan, Patrick de Vere, Ernest Hemingway, Margot Hemingway, Kurt Cobain, Robin Williams, Virginia Woolf, to name but a few. And then there's still someone. How would I be enchanted to be at the same place like she? With her, to be able to talk about her so beloved horse. Franz Kafka. For a time, I was fascinated by his work, but then I wondered who he was. Always assistant, never an aim approaching, lists writing, never a decision making, never decide anything, never get to the point. Wow, is it not absurd? Just by me. But much poignant as Kafka, Adler, she began to interest me much more than he. Of course he had written writings, world literature. But she has acted. Did she know what awaited her in Auschwitz? Even if not, it was indescribably tender not to leave the children alone. But if? Only humility remains, and the supplication for forgiveness. Also Ellie and Wally and one I have learned now. You have to go through the gate. So I run like I'm mad to heaven's door. Thank you for listening.